Welcome to the first of 3 videos showing you how to use the Core Knowledge Language Arts curriculum for 4th through 8th grade. In this video, I'll be showing you how the Core Knowledge Language Arts curriculum works and explaining the materials you'll be downloading and using. In the second video, I'll take you on a tour of the important information in the introduction section of each unit's teacher's guide, as well as walk you through how pausing point days and assessment days work. In the final video, I'll take you on a detailed tour of a sample lesson so you can see how you will be using the teacher's guide each school day to teach your student. When you finish these videos, I want you to be confident that you can use this curriculum to successfully homeschool your student. Now, a quick note, if you are looking to use the kindergarten through 3rd grade curriculum, I do have a separate set of videos for those grade levels because the curriculum for those works a bit differently. Before we start, 2 things. First, the Core Knowledge curriculum I'll be showing you today is free to download from the Core Knowledge Foundation's website. These are downloadable PDF files that you can easily view on a tablet or laptop, and you'll be able to print them when you need them to. Next, be sure to visit my website, homeschoolworkplans.com, where I have grade-specific organization guides and a unit-specific checklist for Core Knowledge Language Arts. I also have a daily schedule and supply checklist available for homeschoolers. And finally, Core Knowledge actually offers a social studies and science curriculum as well. So on my website, you'll find materials to help you use both of those along with the MEP math curriculum, which is an academically strong and free to download math curriculum from the UK. Now, all of the materials on my site are available for free. My goal is to take the guesswork and expense out of providing your student with a high-quality education at home. So let's dive in and get started. For grades 4 and up, Core Knowledge Language Arts is what is known as an all-in-one language arts curriculum. So instead of having separate curriculum and workbooks for reading and spelling and grammar and composition and vocabulary and literature, all of those language arts subjects are instead covered in this one curriculum. Now, as a homeschooler, the advantage of having a combined curriculum is that it's well integrated. Instead of studying a book in literature and only in literature, an all-in-one curriculum like Core Knowledge is able to use sentences related to the book to work on grammar skills. They can pull vocabulary related to the book and incorporate that into your vocabulary lessons, and same with spelling words. Writing or composition projects can also use the current book or topic they are reading as a springboard for those assignments. And so this sort of structure means that key themes are being constantly reinforced. And it's a very efficient and effective way to cover the language arts subjects. Instead of pulling out 4 or 5 different curriculums during the week, you'll just be using one. And instead of needing to cover every topic every day, reading, spelling, grammar, literature, and vocabulary are staggered strategically throughout the week for maximum retention while still being efficient with the time that we have each day. Okay, a quick side note. If you've previously used Core Knowledge Language Arts for kindergarten through 3rd grade, there were 2 sets of curriculum, right, to cover language arts. But for this first edition downloadable set of materials from Core Knowledge, in 4th grade, those 2 curriculum strands merge. And so now and going forward, there is only 1 set of language arts curriculum. Now, before we move on and I show you the materials, a quick note. Within homeschooling circles, you'll often find the criticism that all-in-one curriculums are problematic for kids whose skill sets are not even across the board. So for example, if a student is in 4th grade and has 4th grade reading skills, but 2nd grade writing skills, or they're in 4th grade and they have 4th grade reading skills and maybe 6th grade writing skills. In those cases, using a curriculum where all the subjects are being taught at one grade level could potentially be challenging. I'll probably do a separate video on this at some point, but I do want to point out up front that since Core Knowledge was originally designed to be used in classrooms where you're typically going to have a range of ability levels across different subjects with different kids, there are significant support materials available for free from Core Knowledge to help shore up weak areas a student may have, and I'll mention these again shortly when I show you the files you'll be downloading from Core Knowledge. For students who may be working ahead of grade level in a subject or 2, Core Knowledge is one of the most academically rigorous options out there and includes options for providing extensions, enrichment, and challenge to students who need it. So whether your student might be a little bit behind or ahead in any particular topic, there are resources there to work with them. So the first step to using Core Knowledge Language Arts is to download the materials for free from the Core Knowledge Foundation. So please check out my video on how to download the files from Core Knowledge. Because each grade level has multiple units, it can seem a tad overwhelming, but once you get the rhythm of it, it's actually pretty easy, and my video will walk you through the process step by step. You can find that video on my website or on my YouTube channel. So there are several types of files you'll be downloading. The first are the grade level ancillary materials. These are the important support materials you'll be using to continue to build reading fluency, as well as shore up any weak spots in your student's skill set if needed. There's one set of these ancillary materials for the whole grade level, for that whole year. Okay, second, you'll be downloading the language arts units, and there are typically 8 or 9 units per grade for 4th grade and up. I will mention that Core Knowledge is in the process of releasing middle school materials. So I'm recording this at the beginning of 2022, and at the moment there is a full slate of language arts materials available from Core Knowledge for 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. So if your student is in one of those grades, you're fine. The whole year of materials is there for you to download. Now for 7th grade, there are some materials available, and realistically, those materials could be used for an 8th grader if needed. Like I said a moment ago, this is a very academically strong and rigorous program. So I would actually be comfortable recommending you use them for either a 7th or 8th grader. I will say what is available, I've been taking a look at it and it's amazing. I am really looking forward to my next kid being a middle school student so we can use them. Now, just in case you also have younger kids, quick side note, Core Knowledge has a full slate of language arts curriculum available for kindergarten through 3rd grade as well. But I do cover that curriculum in a different set of videos because the format for it is very different. Okay, so let's take a look at the folders of files you'll be downloading from Core Knowledge. First, there's the ancillary materials I mentioned. Now, typically, if your student has learned to read using a high-quality phonics style program, by 4th grade, their reading skills are fairly well established. And what you'll really be working on is fluency. So that's the idea of reading with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. And developing that does simply take time and practice for most kids. So in the lessons in the teacher's guide for 4th and 5th grade, you'll see regular references to using the fluency supplement, which is essentially extra reading practice. And that file for each grade level is located here in the ancillary materials file. Now, many of you may be here because you're pulling your child out of school, and maybe you aren't sure where their reading skills are at, or maybe you've seen some signs that there might potentially be some weak spots. As I mentioned earlier, Core Knowledge Language Arts was originally developed to be used in a classroom. So this folder of files contains a number of support materials you can use if your student has some weaknesses they need to work on. If that's the case in your situation, I'd recommend reading the introduction packet. And then there is an assessment available, as well as decoding and encoding supplement packet and a full set of teacher resources. All right, let's move on and look at the unit files. Like I mentioned earlier, each grade level consists of 8 or 9 units, and every student will start with Unit 1 and move forward in order throughout the school year. Now, it's going to vary a bit between the units, but typically each unit folder will have a teacher's guide, a student activity book, that's the workbook, and a student reader. Now, both the teacher's guide and the student reader can be used simply by opening the PDF file on your laptop or tablet. There's no need to print either of these, unless you really want to. You can. You will, though, need to print the activity book for each unit, though, because because they need to be written on, right? So those activity pages, your student will need to be able to write on them. Now, the good news is, though, that those activity books, they're black and white, and you can print them double-sided, and then just place those pages in a binder or have them spiral bound at your local office supply store. Now, some units will also include a file of digital components, and these are important support resources you'll see called for in the teacher's manual during lessons. Things like maps, timeline type cards, small reference posters helping students remember how to organize a writing project, that sort of thing. You'll see more of these in video number 3 when I take you on a detailed tour of a lesson. Now, in some cases, there's also an alignment chart file in the unit folder, which as a homeschooler, you can ignore. Those are meant for classroom teachers who are required to align their lessons to state standards. Now, before we move on, there's a quick note I want to make about downloadable materials because sometimes this trips people up. All of the curriculum from Core Knowledge that I talk about in these videos and that line up with the free planning and prep and scheduling documents on my website are set up for the free downloadable files from the Core Knowledge Foundation. These are their first edition materials. Now, if you start looking around on the Core Knowledge website, you'll likely see that hard copies of the teacher's guides, readers, and activity books are also available from their publishing partner, Amplify, and this is specific to the language arts curriculum. This issue does not affect their science or history and geography curriculum. Now, you can order hard copies of the language arts materials directly from the Amplify website, but keep in mind what's available from Amplify is mostly second edition materials, and they're pretty different. And there are some units that are completely different topics, for example. So just be aware that if you choose to buy the hard copy second edition materials, they won't line up neatly with the free support materials I have available for you. Here's the deal. My goal with these videos and on my website is to make sure that every family has an option for an academically strong, fully planned out, and free curriculum. So because that's my goal, all of my materials are focused on the free downloadable materials available from Core Knowledge, and those are those first edition materials. Now, a quick note. Many units have a student reader file, but starting in 4th grade, some units don't. In those cases, typically you'll be using a trade book. A trade book's just a fancy way of saying a regular book, like you'd find at a library or bookstore. So here's an example of the books that are used in 5th grade. So 5 out of the 9 units in 5th grade, you'll have a student reader file, and it'll look like that one you see up there on the upper left-hand side, so that Renaissance student reader. And then for 3 of the units, you'll be using these 3 books you see at the bottom of the screen. Now, quick reminder, you don't have to buy these books new. I'm all about trying to keep homeschooling as affordable as possible, and so you can always purchase used copies through websites like Thrift Books or A-Books. You also may be able to use your library as an option as well. Now, there is one more situation you'll see each year starting in 4th grade. Each year, your student will have a poetry unit, and these units are amazing. They're so much fun. For the poetry unit each year, though, you have 2 options. The first is the free option. We like free options, right? So each lesson in the teacher's guide in the poetry unit will tell you exactly which poem or poems you'll be studying that day. And you'll simply type the title into Google, and through the magic of the internet, you'll find several websites where you can read that poem to your student and work on the lesson. Now, if you would prefer a physical book of the poetry, you can buy the poetry book for each grade level directly from Core Knowledge. I think they're about $5 a piece. I have a picture of what that purchase poetry book option looks like on the upper right-hand side there. Now, a quick reminder, if you download the organization guide from my website, I've broken all of this out for you by grade level. So each grade, including 5th grade, I have a whole set of information, including which books you'll need, as well as how long you'll need them. So you can judge whether your local library is a viable option. You know, if they'll only let you have the book for 2 weeks, it may be hard to use a library book. If you can get it for 4 or 5 weeks, then you might be in good shape to go ahead and use that as an option. So now that you have a handle on the materials you'll be using, let's switch gears a bit, and I want to briefly show you a teacher's guide. Now, there is a separate teacher's guide for each unit for each grade level, but good news, all the 4th grade and up teacher's guides are formatted similarly. So 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, these all look about the same. So once you go through this series of videos, you'll understand how to use the different sections, and you'll be pretty well set up to use all of them. So as an example for this video, and in the next 2 videos, I'm going to be showing you the teacher's guide for 4th grade, Unit 5, and the topic for this unit is geology. Now, I realize many of you are very confused. Why is geology the topic of a language arts unit? Isn't that a science topic? And it is a science topic. But here's a really important thing to understand about core knowledge curriculum in general. Across all core knowledge curriculum, language arts, history and geography, science, there is a focus on increasing both the width and depth of the knowledge a student has so they can grow up to become citizens who are well informed and can participate in civic life. And part of how that is done is to integrate the teaching of language arts skills with knowledge-rich content. So instead of learning reading, comprehension, grammar, spelling, vocabulary composition, those sorts of things in isolation, those skills are learned in the context of building rich knowledge on a particular topic for that unit. And I will tell you, this is part of what makes core knowledge one of the best curriculums I have found in the 10 years I've been homeschooling. All right, now sometimes the focus of a language arts unit is a very traditional piece of literature. So for example, These are all fourth grade units. Okay, so in fourth grade, there's a unit studying the memoir by Jacqueline Woodson called Brown Girl Dreaming. Wonderful book. I really enjoyed that book. There are also units studying the book King Arthur and the Round Table and the book Treasure Island. Like all school years from fourth grade onward, there's also a poetry unit like we talked about a few minutes ago. But about half the time, the topics of the unit is an area of history or science. So for fourth grade, you'll be studying the European Middle Ages, geology, the American Revolution, and the U.S. Constitution as part of language arts. And here's the thing, those topics are not randomly chosen. There's a real method to this madness here. The study of geology in this language arts unit lays important groundwork for the fourth grade science unit on processes that change the earth. The history of the Middle Ages in Europe, the Islamic Empire, and African kingdoms are also covered in multiple fourth grade history units. So this Middle Ages unit in language arts at the beginning of the school year lays groundwork so that that topic can be dived into more deeply once they get to it again in the history units. Now, same with the American Revolution and the U.S. Constitution units in language arts. The information presented in those units serves two purposes. It's introducing concepts around important topics and providing interesting subject matter for learning important language arts skills, like reading comprehension and spelling and grammar and vocabulary and morphology and sentence mechanics and composition. Language arts is a full subject. Now, I really feel after using a lot of different curriculums over the years, I think I've tried almost every one of the really high quality curriculums out there, that this is one of the most engaging language arts curriculums I found. It's because there's this constant thread of rich knowledge being drawn into every subject. It really is an amazing way to do school. So that's it for this video. Next up in video number 2, I'm going to walk you through the important information in the introduction section you'll need to read through in each unit's teacher's guide. I'm also going to show you the materials for 2 types of lesson days that will occur in the units, pausing point days and assessment days. And then in the 3rd video, you and I are going to take a detailed tour of a daily lesson so that you can see exactly how you'll be using the teacher's guide to teach your student each day. Okay, so that's it for now. I'll see you in a few minutes in video number 2.